Hello, my family. Well, it's Friday night, and for the most part, a lot of people on Friday night, we all have this tradition as families. Some of us may, some of us don't, but a lot of people will go ahead and order it just about every Friday night, and that's pizza. And our homestead is going to be doing pizzas. One low carb, one Mediterranean. And I'm going to show you how to do both, from the crust to the finished product. So I hope you're ready to spend the evening in the kitchen with me, and let's make some pizza. Okay, so first we're going to make is the low carb pizza crust. This one's going to take a while, so I'm going to start with this one. This is for my husband, who's a diabetic, and he cannot have regular carved crust, so, and I will be using that, but for him we're going to go with a low carb. Now I will tell you that this one here, when we made this, even I was eating it with him, when we made this, it actually tasted somewhat as if it was a whole wheat type of crust. It was actually amazing. So he had requested I do this for him again. So we're going to start out, and I like to sift all of my ingredients. So, and I have weighed all these ingredients as well. So the first thing we're going to start with is, we're going to take warm water, and I need to redo this one, but it needs to be about 110 degrees. And that's for the yeast that we're fixing to use. I need a half a cup of this, of warm water. So let me go ahead and get my half cup measuring cup. Okay, so I got my half a cup of water. And I am going to be adding, now mind you, when I add this product, know that this is not going, especially with a diabetic, I'm going to be using a teaspoon of honey. However, the honey will not be absorbed within your body. The yeast is fixing to be eating this honey. It's food for the yeast, so it will never enter your bloodstream. So I'm going to be adding a teaspoon of honey to this warm water. Mix it all up in here really good. I know I don't have a whole lot of room in here, y'all, but I'm mixing it in to the half a cup of warm water. And then I'm going to be adding to this so that it can proof, or bloom, that is. I'm going to be adding 8 grams or 2.5 teaspoons of instant dry yeast. And I am going to mix this up really good with it. I'm just going to mix this up, and then we're going to set it aside for about 5 to 7 minutes and let it bloom, and then we'll be adding it to our ingredients. I'm going to set that aside right now and let that do its thing. Now in here I am going to be adding 95 grams or 2/3 cups of vital wheat gluten. I need 37 grams of flaxseed meal, or a 1/4 cup. $25 grams or a 1/4 cup of oat fiber. That one tends to stick a little bit more than the rest of them. I need 13 grams or 1 tablespoon of sugar of your choice. Substitute sugar of your choice. And I need a 1/4 teaspoon or 0.5 grams of xantham gum, which I need to go get that. So now I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon to this mix. And we need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I am going to be using Himalayan sea salt. And that's it for right now. So I'm going to mix this up in here. Sift through it. I do this so there's no hard clumps or nothing like that in our dough. Okay. Now we're going to mix this up all together really well inside of here. Check on our yeast. And yes, this is blooming nicely. So we're ready for our yeast to come in here. And then we shall be mixing this up. I will be using the dough blade on this one here. Been a while, y'all, since I've done videos, so bear with me. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add our yeast. And then it also asks for a 1 egg at room temperature, so we're going to add that as well. So first let's get our yeast in here. I like to make sure I get all of my ingredients as well, especially with this type of flour. I really don't want to skip out on any of the liquids. Okay, there's our yeast. Going to do our 1 egg. And we're going to lower this in here and set our mixer. And we're going to get it till we can get it all incorporated and into a bowl. And we shall be right back. Okay, so it has come to a form of a ball. Now I'm going to add at this point a tablespoon of room temperature butter. And then we're going to incorporate this and let this knead for about 4 to 5 minutes. And naturally, mine was not exactly at room temperature, so I had to heat my butter up. But it's okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and incorporate this all together, and I'll be kneading this for about 4 to 5 minutes. Once this is up, we shall be right back. Okay, so it has been about 4 to 5 minutes, and what you're looking for is a gluten. With the vital wheat gluten, it'll form a gluten in your crust just like this. So this is amazing. So now I take and form it into a ball. And I'm going to put it inside of my bowl. Cover this with saran wrap. And we're going to let this rise for about an hour. Once this rises, we will come back and I will turn around and show you what the next step is. And from there, it's going to be interesting because you can continue on like I'm going to do this evening and use it for pizza. Or you can actually let it cool down afterwards, and you can actually freeze this for any other night. Now, this will make a 14-inch size pizza. So let me get this covered, and I will be back to explain more. Okay, so now we have our dough covered in plastic wrap. I've got my oven preheated to 425, so I'm going to set it on this cutting board and let this rise for about an hour. So to give you a little bit of information about this, the whole entire crust, now that's not with the toppings or anything on it yet. This is just for the crust. So this is for a 14-inch. Mine's about a 12. So I'll probably get just a little bit more out of it. So either way, this is actually a really good crust to use. It will yield, if you were to have a 14-inch, about 8 servings. So it comes down to net carbs of 1.8, vary at about 2 carbs per slice. You've got 5.5 grams of protein, 9.6 grams of 9.6 grams of protein, 5.5 grams of fiber, 3.8 grams of fat, and 82 calories per slice. So this worked out well for my husband's blood sugar, and so we decided to go ahead and keep this recipe. Right now, at this point, I am going to be taking care of that one, and I may go ahead onto mine, which I am actually going to be making a flatbread for my pizza. It is not low carb. Mine will be carbed. Again, I have to maintain my weight, so, and I cannot lose anymore. Now, Mediterranean, I'll explain a little bit about Mediterranean with you. Let me get this cleaned up and I will be back with you. Okay, y'all. So to explain a little bit about Mediterranean. Mediterranean deals a lot with lean meats, if anything. Not so much. They will occasionally, there's some red meat. There is a lot of chicken. There's a lot of fish and stuff like this. Every vegetable form you can think of. One of the biggest keys in Mediterranean, it's good with cholesterol issues and everything, and that is a fine grade of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. I go through this a lot, y'all, and olive oil is one of the most amazing things and one of the highest used products in Mediterranean food. I have my eggs and I have my sourdough bread. Now I choose sourdough bread mainly because it's easier on my digestive system. So I absolutely love the flavor of it. I will use pita breads and stuff like that because I make homemade hummus. Another thing that I am fixing to do, I'll just go there. I have been noticing that the stores, they're canned of chickpeas. Now, I make homemade hummus, as you've known. The chickpeas, the cheapest one's like 78 cents a can for about 15.5 ounces. So I got to thinking about it, and I could get a pound of chickpeas, dried chickpeas, for about $1.38 at Walmart. And so I decided what I am going to be doing is I am going to be canning these, and it will be pressure canning. If anybody's interested in learning how to do this, to be able to make your own hummus and basically cheaper, and you can put this on your shelf, let me know, and I'll make a video on how I do it the day I do this. So, but I am fixing to do my own chickpeas so that I can make my own hummus and not have to worry about getting them from the store. Now, yes, I could go ahead and make a batch of it up on my stove. The difference between me, though, is sometimes I have other things to do, and if I want to decide to make hummus that evening, all I have to do is go to my pantry, open my jar, and I can make my hummus, and I don't have to worry about letting this cook all day long. So it's just more of a convenience thing for me. I do use some ghee occasionally. I use a lot more olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, than I use anything. I have literally, excuse me, since I stopped smoking, I got a lot of things. But anyways, I have noticed that um, my skin is getting softer by doing this. It's not so dried out anymore. My hair is not as brittle. I'm feeling more, I don't know. I had energy when I started doing low carb, but I'm feeling more vibrant, more life. My head is not so foggy, and things are just, I don't know, little by little, day by day. And I'm doing two things at once here, so it's kind of hard. Um, I fear gaining my weight back? Yes, I do. However, I'm learning to moderate how much I eat of certain things. I'm learning portion control. And I have done this for about a week now, like I said. And honestly, now I did lose a couple ounces, but that's due to water weight and all that too. But I'm maintaining between 156 to 158. Thank you, Lord. And I plan on hopefully doing that. If it gets out of hand, I know how to decrease it. I guess that's the joys of being on both worlds. But part of that is because I'm constantly trying to, like for me, when okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. For those who already know what I'm going through, when you quit smoking, you tend to just want to eat, and it's driving me literally crazy. So, in order to do this safely for me, I'm eating fruits and vegetables and seeds and nuts and things like this. Um, One of the things with Mediterranean is veering away from processed foods, which is the same thing we were doing with my husband on low carb anyways. Processed foods is still, no matter what you do, it's bad. And if you can't pronounce an ingredient, to me, it don't belong in my body. The other thing I am still doing is I steer away from, now if I'm going to have something sweet, it's going to be with the real thing. However, um, then again, I may just do low sugar or no sugar treats with my husband. That is the one area I do not want to get used to, is having sweets. I'd rather have natural sweets like fruits. So I may treat myself every once in a blue moon with a regular type of dessert or whatever, but that is few and far between for me. I really don't. That, I think, was one of the biggest problems when I started gaining weight, was I was really not knowing how much an actual portion size was. To be honest with you, I grew up with my mama. I mean, and I understand why, but mama always taught us you never left that table until your plate was finished. And mom would dish our plates up for us. So we didn't really know what portion control really was. So I grew up all these years, as embarrassing as it is, I'm learning how to do portion control, and it's working. I'm learning how to moderate and being able to spread my carbs in a better way. So, and also mixing my fibers and my vegetables. And I'm finding that I'm liking vegetables of all different kinds. I cannot wait to try more. I'm loving this Mediterranean diet too. Oh my goodness, y'all, I could not tell you the freshness, the flavors. It's amazing. So I look forward to actually doing this with you. So now that's basically what Mediterranean is. And I am going to go ahead, and I think it's a bit early for mine, it's only about a 15-minute process for my dough, where unlike hubby's, his is about an hour or so. And this is rising pretty quick, so I'm going to actually move it over here because it is warm in the house. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and fix my dough up for you, and we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and get that ready, and while this is rising, and we'll fix this up. Okay, y'all. So for the flatbread for me, I'm first going to have to get my yeast started and getting it bloomed. So I'm going to need 3/4 cup of warm water, about 110 degrees. My tap water is usually about that. So I'm going to go ahead and get 3/4 cup of that. And this recipe calls for a teaspoon of sugar. I'm actually going to be using, again, like I did with my husband, I'm going to be using our own honey that we had produced last year from our honeybees before we lost them. I still have the honey, so I'm actually going to use honey. I like it better than just refined sugar anyways. So I need a teaspoon of that. Couldn't find my teaspoons for just a moment. So we're going to take a teaspoon of this. Oh gosh. Yeah, I don't know about you, but food has been tasting so much better for me. It's just absolutely amazing. I've been trying new vegetables and stuff I never tried before, and it makes me wonder why I haven't tried it before, you know, in my life before this. Some may ask me, is it hard? Because I've always, and you've known me, well, since I've started YouTube, you've known that I do things basically homemade from scratch anyways, a lot of it. But now I'm doing 2 different meals every day. And I've probably been asked if it's harder to do 2 different meals. Somewhat, maybe. But when I look at the benefits for it, when I look at the reality of what it does for both of us, it doesn't bother me. I thoroughly enjoy cooking anyways. I mean, if I could, I'd have my own restaurant into low-carb Mediterranean. So it doesn't really bother me to do this. And then I look at it like this. In every meal that I make, or even every video I make, I'm now versatile to the point as I can make all in one meal setting, converting it between Mediterranean style and low carb, and you guys get the best of both worlds in one video. So it's amazing, like I'm doing now. I'm doing 2 different type of pizza crust, 2 different type of pizzas, but you get a low carb version and you get a Mediterranean. It's actually extremely helpful. So now I need to activate my yeast. So I need 1 teaspoon of active dry yeast. Mix this in here really good. I'm going to set it aside and then let this bloom. So I'm just going to mix this up for just a few minutes. And then set that aside. Now while that's being set aside to bloom, I want to make sure I get all of my yeast off of here. Doggone. Okay, so while this is doing that, I'm going to go ahead and add 2 1/4 cups of, or 2 cups right now actually, of all-purpose flour. Now I will tell you, I'm not actually using all-purpose flour. You're welcome to if you want to. I am going to be using basically a higher protein based flours, and that would be bread flour. I am also using unbleached because I believe when a flour source is not processed as much, it's a better source to work with. And it is proven, I've proven that over and over with all the breads and sources that I've made with bread flour. I prefer to keep it. So, and it's no different here. So I am actually going to be keeping bread flour, and that's what I'm going to be using. So you're welcome again to use all purpose if you'd like to, but we're going to need 2 cups to start with. And how I like to do this, it's a key, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to go ahead and keep mentioning it. So I never take my flour and just dip it in my bag and throw it in here. It compacts it. It gives you way too much, and you get a dense bread or whatever you're making with the flour. It will make it extremely dense. So I believe in flowing it. And I will show you what, with this bowl here. Hang on. With the overflow that may come from this cup, and then to scrape it off, I'm going to show you how I do this. Let me just move this out of the way for just a second. So I am going to take my bread flour right here, take it from my bag, but I am going to come here with a bowl underneath and just flow this just like so inside of my cup. I'm not going to pack it in there. I'm just going to let this flow inside, even if it goes over the top. And once I get that, I'm going to take my butter knife, make sure all edges are filled in, and I'm just going to scrape the top off of it. This ensures that I do not have a dense mix, and I get exactly what I'm looking for. So now I'm going to put this in my strainer, because I'm going to be sifting all of this. And again, for my second cup, just pretty much put my flour in and free flow it. Now my pizza will not have any meat. It's not that I'm going vegan, y'all. I'm not going vegetarian. I'm not doing none of that. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I do happen to like my meat. I'm just going to actually just go with vegetation tonight. So almost like a cheese veggie pizza. So, and that's it. Alright, so now we've got our flour. I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of salt to this. And now I'm going to sift this in here all together. Like that. Okay, now we have our wet ingredients, and let's see, the next step would be so the next step is, first of all, I'll get this down in here. I'm going to be adding my liquid, and I'm going to be adding my olive oil. I'm going to have to get a spatula so I can stir this, because this is not going in a stand mixer. Okay, so now the next step is we're going to add 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil, and I am going to be adding that to my yeast mix. And then I'm going to be adding that to my flour mix. So I need 1.5. I am actually using California Olive Ranch. This is one of the oils that I can say is not a fake. You want one that's got that peppery taste in the back of your throat. If you took a spoonful of it straight up, it's got a nice fruity, nutty flavor. I have tasted some that were fake, you all, and trust me, you can absolutely tell the difference. I also like, now this one is a bit more expensive, but I do know this is an absolute amazing. It's cold pressed. I get this from my culinary store here where we live, and it's about $24 for this bottle, but absolutely amazing. I wish I could just afford that one all the time, but I do use California Ranch, and it is a good quality olive oil. So don't trust all of them at the grocery stores. I will tell you that. I've had people tell me I'm absolutely crazy, but trust me, y'all, they are proven to be fake. They're getting away with this, and actually, technically, it's illegal to be doing that, but they do anyway. So I look for bottles that are in the green colors or dark bottles, and I look for a harvest date. So hopefully that helps you. So now we're going to add this to our flour mix. Again, we're going to get all the liquids out and all the goodness out of the measuring cup so we don't waste nothing. And now I'm going to mix this. And I'm going to use this spatula here because it's easier to work. So we're just going to mix this up until we form a nice dough to work with out on the counter. I might not even have to add any more flour to this, but we'll see. We've kind of got high humidity here in the house, so things are acting a bit different in here today. All right, so now I'm going to make some room on my board here. And I am going to knead this for about 4 to 5 minutes, or until it's got a nice gluten to it. And I'm going to set this for 5 minutes. I usually do that when I'm timing, even with kneading, because you really want to do as it's said in your recipe to make sure that you get the right consistency of what you need for a dough. And I really don't care which dough, whether it's low carb or regular doughs. Okay, so there's my dough here. And I'm just going to knead this right now. Put it all together. Get this started. Just like so. Oh, I always loved playing with dough. To me, it's therapeutic. I just really enjoy this. I am seriously thinking about getting into bread baking because this is something I truly, truly enjoy. Now, the recipe said that there was 2 1/4 cups of flour. The 1/4 cup is for this purpose here. Basically, you want to just lightly bread or flour your board and knead your dough. So I am going to set my timer right now, and I'm going to sit here and knead this until it is finished. Once I am finished, I will show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so we have a nice bounce back reaction on our dough. We're going to set this inside of a bowl, cover it with a tea towel, just like so. And this one is only going to sit for about 15 minutes. So I'm just going to set this over here on top of the stove. I'm going to clean this area off because I am getting ready to actually do hubby's crust, and we are going to pre-bake his. So I want to make sure that there is no flour residue of any sort on this board when I'm working with his doughs. So, because it will spike his sugar. So we're going to get the flour off of this board, come back, and I will set you up on how to, and I'm hoping you're being able to keep up doing both type of breads, the bread source or crust source. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up, and then we will fix his up. Okay, so hubby's ended up rising, doubled. I mashed it down, and I will tell you at that point it is a bit sticky until you get it mashed down. So we're going to actually take this and place it in between 2 sheets of parchment paper, and we're going to roll this out to fit our pizza pan. So put that on here. I'm going to go ahead and get this started and be able to spread it out on here afterwards. Give me 1 second while I get the stickiness off my fingers from punching it down or actually pressing it down. So now I'm going to take my rolling pin and I'm going to roll it out some. That way I can get it to fit on top of this pizza pan. And this does make 1 pizza, so if you wanted to, you can make more, and you can, after you pre-bake it, you can literally freeze these to have one. Just take it out of your freezer, defrost it when you want to have a quick pizza, low carb. Don't have to sit here and worry about, you know, making this up, waiting an hour. It's already done. Defrost it, basically fill it up, put it in your oven for 10 minutes, and you're done. So I'm going to go ahead and finish rolling this out to where I could get it and I could spread it on here. And I shall be back with you to show you how I'm going to do that. Okay, y'all, so now, excuse me, now we've gotten where I can actually spread it out here. I am going to slightly tug, press, till I can get it to form all the way around this 12-inch pan, making it as even as possible, so there's nothing, you know, more thicker on one side than the other. I'm just going to work this dough out, just like so, until it is completely ready. It takes a little bit of work, but it's so worth it. So, and you can basically end up, well, with a 12-inch, because that's pretty much the standard size is a 12-inch. You can get a thick crust out of this, and hubby actually likes thick crust. So, and with it being so low carb for him, I mean, a slice is 2 grams. I don't worry about this crust with him. It did, last time we had it, it worked perfectly for him. And I am going to avoid, oh, sorry about that. I am actually going to avoid nitrates in the meat that he's going to have. I am going to be taking some ground pork with homemade no sugar Italian seasoning, sausage seasoning, and I am going to make him sausage for his pizza that way. It's safer, and with him and us testing this off with no meds, we're going to keep this way. It's safe on him, and it keeps him off of those meds. Metformin is just not something we would like him to be on. We succeeded, and we're going to keep on that track. So, and nitrates is one of the, honestly, y'all, diabetics' worst enemy, because what people don't understand, it's not so much the nitrate, the sodium, the salt. There's hidden sugars, from corn syrup to sugar to brown sugar to molasses. They have hidden sugars in those nitrates. So keep an eye on those ingredients, y'all, when you get things that that require curing, like ham, your lunch meats, your hot dogs, sausages. Check them out. You'll see what I'm saying. All right, so we now have this. Now I'm going to put divots in this with my fingers like so. I have my oven preheated to 425. And I'm actually going to go ahead and pre-bake this, or par-bake it, however you want to call it. I'm going to pre-bake this now for about 10 minutes. And once this is done, we'll bring it out and I will show you what to do on the next step from here. So we'll be right back. Okay, so while I'm waiting on his crust, I am going to go ahead and fix up the sausage that I'm going to use. So I'm going to use about a tablespoon or so of olive oil in my pan. Now, the ground pork that I am using is one that we did ourselves from tenderloin, so it was a leaner cut. So that's the reason I add a little bit. Now it does have some fat to it, but I'm going to add a healthier fat to this. So now I'm just going to take and put this in my pan. And next I'm going to be adding my Italian sausage seasoning. If I'm not mistaken, I think I gave that recipe in one of my videos. I'll look back on it. But it's adding it to your liking. There is no specific measurement to this. Just add it to what your taste is. But we have found that this works so much better for him, and it avoids all that processed stuff. I don't know, even Mediterranean, low carb, or diabetes, it's coming down to processed foods are really bad. I'm so sorry, y'all. So now I need a spatula. We'll get this one over here. Actually, I'll get this spoon right here. And now I'm just going to mix this up. I may have to adjust the flavors here in a bit. But that's how I'm making sausage. It's just homegrown or home ground, basically pork tenderloin. I added a little bit of healthy fat source to this. Added my own no sugar Italian sausage seasoning to it. And it will come out tasting, honestly, just like Italian sausage, but without all the hidden sugars and things that we just can't pronounce in it. So I will go ahead and finish this, and I shall be right back. And here is hubby's crust. It just came out of the oven. Now it is a 12-inch, like I said, from a 14. That is slightly different, so it puffs up a little bit more. It makes it like a thick crust for him. So, but that's the crust side. And at this point, you could take it in, let me set this up here to cool off some. You could take this and let it cool off completely, wrap it up and freeze it for another meal, or you can go ahead and just continue the process, which that's what we are going to do. We'll go ahead and basically let this cool off a bit first, and then I'm going to come back, put his toppings and everything on it for about 6 minutes, or until the cheese melts, and that's it. So make sure it's not sticking at the bottom, and I'll show you how, after I get it off the pan. So here's the crust in itself. And this, again, like I said, you can cool this off, freeze it, reheat it when you're ready for it, or just let it defrost. Fill your toppings on it, put it in your oven after it's defrosted, and just heat it up with your ingredients until your cheese and all melts, and you're good to go. So that's one thing I liked about these. So we're still process fixing up our sausage, and we will be back. Okay, so now I'm going to move on over to mine. Mine will actually make two, so I'm going to make one pre-made, and it's going to get cooled off and put up for another meal sometime. So, and then my other one, I'll just save it for when we're ready to eat. As far as hubbies, that's basically it. Is the crust it's ready for it to be filled with whatever toppings. We use cheese, we use the homemade sausage that we made, onions. We'll use a tomato, no added sugar tomato sauce, sprinkled with some Italian seasoning, some garlic, some olive oil on the bread. So it's a pretty simple standard pizza, but the crust is made for him that it's safe for him. So now I took and lightly coated my baking pan. I'm going to set this aside for right now, and I'm going to take out my dough. Like I said, this makes two, so I'm going to take half of this. The other half will be for my meal tonight. And I'm going to show you how to fix a Mediterranean pizza. I'll find my dough cutter. Be right back. Alright. Now, I'm going to take my dough, cut it in half, put this one back up, wrap it up under a tea towel for my next one. This one here. So you make sure that they're even. Pretty much close enough even too. Yeah, that's good. Wrapping it up keeps it from getting dry. So now I want to lightly coat the bottom of my board. Sprinkle a little bit of flour on top. And I'm going to roll this out elongated. It does not have to be perfectly. You can go round, you can go rectangle. It does not have to be perfect. It's a rustic crust, basically. You just want it thin, evenly thinned out. I definitely need a bigger kitchen, but I'm thankful for what I have. Now I'm going to stretch this out a little bit. Make sure that it's evenly distributed in thickness all the way through. Roll those ends out. Alright, so now I'm going to take this on my board, or on my pan that I lightly sprayed. Set this over here. I'm going to take and put, again, some of these indentations. Now for me, I'm going to be drizzling some olive oil on top and brushing it. That way I can coat the whole crust. Then I'm going to come back and put some basil pesto on top of this. Now this says to cook it at 500 degrees. I will have to raise mine up some right now while I'm doing this, so. And you will have to watch it. It takes about 6 minutes, 6 to 10 minutes, and that's all. So. Okay, so now I got my olive oil on. Next, I'm going to be adding my basil pesto. Spreading that all over my dough. Just like so. And I will get the rest of the ingredients prepared for you and show you how this is done. We'll be right back. We're almost finished, y'all. Okay, so we have our olive oil, we have our pesto. I am now going to be taking my shredded mozzarella. I am using the full fat, not the part skim. I'm just going to sprinkle this around the bottom of it. Evenly. And next I'm going to be adding some feta cheese to mine. And the feta that I'm using is actually the feta, like goat and sheep feta. Real tangy, really delicious. You can use cow's milk one if you wanted. I'm just going to sprinkle this around here, various areas. And that's it. So next, I'm going to be adding some tomatoes. Let me get my hands cleaned with this, y'all, so that, because my hands are really like messed up right here. Okay, so after we got our cheese, we're going to place tomatoes. I put my tomatoes face down. Actually, you can put them face up too. It helps drain that and cook it better. Then I'm going to add some thinly sliced purple onions. just like so. Now I'm going to take some black olives, sprinkle it all over the tops of this. Just like that. And then another one we're going to add, you wouldn't think, is I'm going to be adding some marinated artichoke hearts. So, and you could pretty much, Mediterranean is come up with an idea. It's basically lots of vegetables created in different ways. Now, like for this pizza, you have your main cheese source. Now, your vegetables could be pretty much anything you want it to be. I mean, it doesn't have to be what I'm using either. It's a wide variety, kind of make up your own. So, and that's one thing I love about Mediterranean. It gives you an idea to use your mind creatively and create some beautiful dishes. And the last thing I'm going to do is now season this with a little bit of garlic powder and some, let me go ahead and wash my hands with the oils from this. We'll season this and we're going to get this in the oven. Okay, so for the final touches, I'm going to lightly sprinkle the tops with my homemade garlic salt. And then some crushed oregano. Now we're going to get this in the oven. Cook it anywhere between 6 to 10 minutes. And we shall be right back. Okay, our pizza's ready to come out of the oven. How beautiful that is, y'all. Now, the next step, turn this off, is sprinkle. Now, I'm going to be using the arugula from my spring mix. You can use spinach. You can leave it just like it is if you want, but I'm going to be using some spring mix arugula with some spinach on top of mine. And I will show you the final pick once we get this set up. I know this was a long video, you all, and I'm hoping it helped give you some ideas and really how simple this is, and the fact for those who are diabetic that would love to have a pizza crust but didn't know you could. I'm hoping this helped you, or do you know you can have one too? So I'm going to take you around now and show you what our pizza looks like. Go ahead and cut this while we're at it. Beautiful. Just give it some rustic cuts. And we'll take you around over here to the finished product. And there you have it, y'all. There is a Mediterranean pizza that is absolutely amazing, very flavorful, a lot of different blends of cheese and vegetables, and you can add meat to this if you want. This was my preference. Again, Mediterranean is whatever you want it to be. If you wanted to add chicken to this, or if you wanted sausage, whatever, you can make this whatever you want. These are my preferences because I am learning to make my health in a lot better way. But, you know, the options are yours. So make it your own. So I'm hoping this helped you. And I'm going to set you back up for just a minute. I hope I helped you all and to be able to create a meal that's healthy, that is made for a diabetic, knowing that they can have a pizza too. Being able to create your own Friday night pizzas, making it your own, do what you want. You can make it healthy. You can do whatever you choose to do with it. So I'm hoping, I know this was an hour-long video. I usually don't do videos like this, but to me it was worth it to be able to give you different options from both sides of the world. So we went basically low carb Italian, and then we went Mediterranean Greek. So I enjoy doing this with y'all. If you enjoy these, please let me know in the comments below. Hit the like button, subscribe, make sure you hit that bell button so every time that I post that you know that I'm about to air. So until next time, much love to each and every one of you. Thank you for your warm hugs. Y'all are a beautiful family. I couldn't be more blessed to have you. So until next time, much love from Parton's Heritage Homestead. Time to eat.